Welcome to That Weekend Feeling with Darren Mann.
That Weekend Feeling, it's brought to you by the Weekend Post and the Daily Dispatch Weekend Edition. Our guest today, former Springbok front row. He's also been a coach of various age group teams, including senior, and also these days known very well as a rugby commentator and analyst on SuperSport. Welcome, Robbi Kempson.
Yeah, hi Darren. Thanks very much for having me and looking forward to our chat.
Each one of us has a story to tell and a story to share. A story that deserves to be heard. A story that inspires, motivates, and gives people a reason to keep going. A story about our triumphs as individuals and as a team. A story about our humble beginnings and what the future holds for us. A story about our heritage and that which brings us together. It is these stories that connect us. The Herald. Whatever you live for, we live to tell that story for you.
It's That Weekend Feeling, and we're chatting with Robbi Kempson. There's a lot to cover when it comes to rugby. It's been a mixed bag as far as the Springboks go. We got off to a good start. A lot of criticism from all over the world. I'm not sure all of it was justified. And after an initially disappointing start down under, a fantastic win over the All Blacks in what was one of the greatest rugby test matches in recent memory, I think.
Yeah, listen, I think if you go past the last, 10 to 12 matches against the All Blacks have been within a couple of points. So always fantastic to get one over the old foe. Unfortunately, they won the 100th. Would have been nice to take that scalp as well. But yeah, a bit of an up and down season, you'd think. Fantastic victory of the Lions tour, where I think Gatland definitely got a few things wrong. But, South Africa got them right and managed to beat the Lions. And then Australia just proved a different kettle of fish. I mean, under Dave Rennie, they are indeed a much more polished side. He's brought a few of the old stalwarts back. And I think we were found a bit wanting with regards to those two games. And luckily managed to shore up everything for the final two against the All Blacks. But to get that last victory put us back at number one. Nothing better for Rassie Erasmus and Jacques and the team.
And end-of-year tour coming up. We've got a few injury issues to worry. I see Faf de Klerk's been added to the list today. What do you expect from the Boks when it comes to the Northern Hemisphere tour at the end of the season?
Listen, I actually don't mind the injuries too much. I think we need to be put in the position where we start building depth. We know what our front runners can do, and they have done very well winning that last game against the All Blacks. But certainly, I think giving other youngsters an opportunity, particularly in those key positions, like as you say, Faf. The biggest disappointment, perhaps for everyone, is Archie Snyman being injured again, just getting back to full fitness. And then Malherbe is out as well on the tight head, which gives another opportunity, maybe to Trevor and his gang to get us back on the front foot. So I don't think the injuries are the worst thing that can happen to us. I certainly would like to see Pele Farsi get an opportunity. Perhaps a more of an extended run for the likes of Elton and a few of the other guys in that back line. So I don't think the overseas trip's going to be a particularly easy one. After beating the Lions, all these teams would like to beat us, no question there. So I think it's going to be a tough tour, but certainly I think it will be positive for us if we can get a few of our youngsters into the mix and playing at that level more consistently.
If I might rewind to the Lions tour. We lost the first one. We came back and won the series 2-1, which takes some doing. Do you buy into all the criticism of the Boks tactics that we heard from Australia, New Zealand, and also the Northern Hemisphere countries?
No, not if you're winning. I mean, probably one of the most famous quotes to come out of the Lions series was from Dan Biggar. He literally just said, listen, if I was winning those games, playing the way South Africa did, I wouldn't have a problem either. So, no, not at all. I think if we're winning games, even if it was a dull affair, listen, to be fair to Rassie and Jacques and the team, Gatland did exactly the same thing. He didn't play an expansive game plan. And, it's always been an arm wrestle when Rassie has played against Gatland. All the games have been won, within a margin of points and generally have been won by kicks. So it's the way Gatland certainly prepared his side and, we just prepared our side better and that's why we won the test series. So I think, as I said earlier, I think Gatland got it wrong and Rassie Erasmus certainly got it right. But the manner in which we won the test series, I've certainly got no complaints about that, and long may we continue winning if that's the case.
Couldn't agree more. The All Black matches, 2 games, and both teams scoring 48 points over the course of the 2 games. 19-17, we lost the first one. 31-29, we won the second. Just 1 score in each of those games. They could have gone either way. How did we lose the first one?
Listen, the first one's a bit of a tricky one. So I do believe the All Blacks, chatting to Josh Cronfold and a few other guys that were over there, the All Blacks were pretty nervous for that first one. So they probably underplayed their potential. And I think we went into it with a bit of trepidation ourselves. And I think we probably weren't on the mark quite either, to be honest. So they, I thought, more snuck that one. I think the second test for me was even a bigger victory in view of the fact that, whenever we ever in the history of our Springboks seen our side down with the, clock is up, time's up, and we have that resolute factor within our spine of our team to, kick for the corner, get the penalty, and finally the win. I've never seen that in a South African side, yet alone a Springbok side. So for me, that was a much bigger win than losing the unfortunate 100th test. And I think what it showed with this current Springbok side is just the mettle that they have regarding their performances and the way they can perform, particularly in the vital stages of a game, where it certainly has not been a factor with our Springbok makeup over many years.
Rob, before we move over to franchise rugby, I would like to get your thoughts and your comment on the disciplining of Rassie Erasmus by World Rugby. I see that what was going to be a decision made at the end of August is now going to be made at the end of October. What are your thoughts on it, firstly, and what do you expect to come out of this?
My thoughts on it, listen, the way it was leaked, no one knows the true facts behind it, but certainly it wasn't leaked from a South African person. So I think, from a pure legal perspective, I think not too much can happen to Rassie. I do believe World Rugby are going to try and make something quite big out of it and try and really, put a rubber stamp on what his antics were and the way he addressed it. But, in fairness to Rassie and the video itself, this is nothing new. We've all been complaining about the way these referees have mishandled South African teams, and it's been decades. It hasn't been just in the last couple of years. Finally to call a referee out in the way he did, it's nothing new. But I think because it went so viral, and so many, in view of COVID, so many more people were obviously watched the video and the contents thereof. The contents there is nothing wrong with. He's got it spot on with regards to the referee, the way he interacted with our players, and how dismissive he was with regards to certain decisions. And I think if anything that I hope comes out of it, if Rassie gets a sort of a couple of weeks ban and a fine and all the rest of it, so be it. But the refereeing performances, particularly when we went to the championship down under, were much better. They were competent. They were they were very professional, and there were very few indifferent decisions that were made compared to what has happened in prior test matches. So I think if anything can come out of it is that World Rugby will get their shop in order, they'll get their referees in order, and will make sure that they are consistent for absolutely every game and not just the one or two that are earmarked by certain coaches. So, and I think all coaches worldwide, and I'm just talking about Rassie, I'm pretty sure that Eddie Jones is the same when he gets a couple of harsh decisions. Farrell will be the same with Ireland. Certainly they'll be same in New Zealand. If the referees get it right more consistently, in view of the fact that Rassie made an hour-long video, I think we're all going to be happy. And I certainly hope that's all that's really taken out of this. They will try and have a go at Rassie. He's too canny, that chap. He's got more than a few aces up his sleeve. So, if they can throw the book at him, to what extent, I don't think. I think Rassie has got a few of the aces on his side as opposed to World Rugby having them. Just the manner and think that they went about the release of the video. Again, I just hope the positive comes out of it with regards to everyone getting a fair crack in a game of rugby that we all love, as opposed to it being marginally one-sided in view of the referee's antics, which it definitely has been, in my opinion, specifically regarding South Africa and decisions that are made in test matches.
Rob, let's move away from test rugby. Look at the South African franchises. For the first time in how many years, no Super Rugby going on. We've moved up north. We're in the URC. Didn't get off to a great start. And this past weekend, it got a little better. Super second half performance from the Bulls saw them win. The Stormers got a draw. The Lions lost by just a score. And the Sharks got a win as well. Your thoughts on firstly, us leaving Super Rugby and going up north, and then how the South African teams are going to adapt?
Yeah, I think it's always unfortunate to lose Super Rugby, and I loved playing it. But then, towards the back end of my career, I wanted to go play in exactly the competition that we are playing in. So, if anything, I think it's going to strengthen our rugby, to be honest with you. I think they are much more professional sides. They're certainly more competitive sides if we're playing, on a week-in, week-out basis. And in view of the fact that they're so professional, our coaches are going to have to upskill themselves rather rapidly to ensure that they can compete, as they have done in week 3 of the competition. So I think pretty much there's a lot more positives than negatives. The negatives is not playing against New Zealand on a more sort of New Zealand teams on a more frequent basis, but certainly I don't think we're losing too much by leaving Super Rugby and going into what I think is a much stronger competition with, potentially the competitive nature of the teams we're playing again, and the professionals of those teams are going to rub off onto our guys, and hopefully we're going to get a few more victories. This in the first 2 weeks is exactly what I expected. Honestly, the level of competition, I don't think people realize how strong it is. Particularly over there, it's a very attritional, and it's the game plans of this side is definitely a ball-in-hand approach. Where in South Africa we tend to kick the ball away more often than not, and we rely on our defence, which you can't do in this competition. So again, it's going to add another string to the bow of our sides, and in view of that, it's going to help our Springbok side because our players are playing in this competition.
And Rob, South Africa have things stacked against them a little more than the other sides maybe. I understand the home games are not going to be played at home for South African franchises.
Darren, that's a little bit unfortunate. They are going to Italy, which their winters aren't as harsh as potentially you'll get in. We're certainly getting Wales and definitely in Ireland. So probably a bit milder conditions, but they are away from home. And, we don't have our crowd factor, which they do have on that side. And again, probably the most important thing is that specifically for the Bulls and Lions, they've got the altitude factor, which these sides won't have to deal with. And it's a shorter trip for them. But, I think in view of particularly COVID and the way these guys are prepared, they're going to be at home for a couple of weeks first before they go over to Italy and play those games. Yes, it does put us at a disadvantage, but being on the road and realizing that we're going to, out of the 16 sides, we're only going to be playing 4 in South Africa. We're going to have to get used to that travel. And luckily, it's not the travel that you have to Australasia. It's it's just one flight up and down. More or less most of the time, and it's close enough to fly over recruits if you have injuries as well. So also again for playing in Italy, it would probably be of more of a benefit to South African sides than playing these games over in Wales or Ireland in November. So, but still away from home and not having your home ground advantage. Durban has its own thing with humidity as well, which would be to their advantage. And Cape Town has a bit of a breeze now and then. So it will be a disadvantage, but certainly something our side should be able to handle.
Last question for you, Rob. Just turning our attention locally to the state of rugby in Eastern Province. We've been battling for year after year after year. Is there light at the end of the tunnel? Can you see improvements on the way?
No, I'm afraid to be the bearer of bad tidings, but I don't see any lights. Not the current way things are run, unfortunately. Anything with rugby at this present time, and this is no slant on the administration. Please don't get me wrong. You need money to run anything successful in professional sport or even semi-professional sport. And I think the economies worldwide as they are right now, it's difficult to try to throw a lot of money into something that potentially people don't see as very sustainable. And not having a franchise, I think that is probably the hardest thing for Eastern Province rugby going forward, as it is for all the other provinces that aren't franchises, and for the Cheetahs themselves as well. Not having an international competition to play in, you just can't keep your players. You don't have the financial ability to be able to draw players or to keep players because they want to play international competition. So it's going to be, unfortunately, very difficult for the likes of Eastern Province rugby, the Cheetahs, Griquas, even, and the Pumas to have sort of longevity and financial stability over the next couple of years. I think it's going to be increasingly difficult for the smaller unions.
We appreciate your thoughts. We're catching up with Robbi Kempson, former Springbok front row, coach, as I said earlier, of senior teams and various age level groups. And you're involved with Grey High at the moment, Rob?
Yes, indeed. It's been very, very good so far. A lot of support from all the old grey chaps and getting involved with the school processes. So I'm looking very forward to it, I must say.
And we look forward to seeing some good results from them. They're usually in the top 10. Long may it continue. Robbi Kempson, thank you for joining us on that weekend feeling.
Great, Darren. All the best, my friend. Take care.
Enter the Daily Dispatch Winner Car competition and you could drive away in the new 7-seater Suzuki Ertiga 1.5 GA. The competition closes on the 21st of November 2021 and an entry form is printed in the Daily Dispatch every day. The more you enter, the luckier you get. Get your copy of the Daily Dispatch and enter now. Win a car, proudly brought to you by Daily Dispatch and Ronnie's Motors.
That was That Weekend Feeling with Darren Mann.